So today, big day. For the first time, we are celebrating Juneteenth as a national holiday. Our company gave us the choice today to take it off, but we wanted to be here to talk to you about it. So the president signed into law yesterday saying, quote, Juneteenth marks both the long, hard night of slavery and subjugation and a promise of brighter morning to come. Afterwards, lawmakers from the Congressional Black Caucus gathered to sing a hymn. Take a listen. Wow. And look at this, 94-year-old activist Opal Lee, who is known as the, quote, grandmother of Juneteenth, was also at the signing. She helped put the holiday on the map for many Americans. Here's what she told CNN last night about the big victory.
You know, I knew that the Senate had passed the bill, but I thought the House was going to take a lot longer. And to find out that both of them had, and I'm on my way to Washington, D.C., and going to be in the White House, I don't know how to describe it. I'm humbled by it. I truly am. But you just have to take my word for it. I'm so grateful.
What a trailblazer. And I just think I have to clarify to some of our viewers, because some of our viewers, unfortunately, do not know what Juneteenth is. And that is a shame. And I will call myself out. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I didn't know what Juneteenth was. I saw it on my iPhone, marked as a holiday.
Me too.
And so I had to Google it. I had to educate myself. So just really quickly, when slavery was abolished back in 1863, is that right? 1865, for 2 years, because it took so long to get to Galveston, Texas, and it wasn't enacted with Robert E. Lee. It took 2 years for 250,000 slaves to still be enslaved while the other slaves had been emancipated. So what does that mean to you? What does it mean to you, Erica, that finally, not one, this is being recognized, but two, people are starting to learn about it?
Right, because most people were taught that enslaved people were free with the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yep.
But the truth is, for some reason, for 2 years, a lot of people were still enslaved. And I think when we're talking about it today and the fact that it is a national holiday and it's being recognized in this way, I look at this beautiful queen talking about how proud and honored she is about having this as a national holiday. That is one school of thought, and I am very much on that same idea, thinking I am going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate what my ancestors did to get me to this seat today. On the other side of that coin, I want to be very clear. This is an aesthetic representation of a lot of things that need to come to pass. Oklahoma is a really great example, with this year being the 100th commemoration of the Tulsa Race Massacre,
right,
which most people didn't even know about until this year. What happened in Oklahoma with Governor Stitt, who was sitting on the 1921 Tulsa Race Commission, in order to raise Centennial Commission, in order to raise awareness and also raise funds for restitution, which hasn't been paid to the victims, was asked to leave that board because he signed the bill 1775, which prohibited critical race theory being treated or taught in school. So there is a lot that needs to be done. And I'm glad that we have this holiday, but let's put action behind it.
Amen. And before Al, because of course I want to hear from you, let's bring in a friend of our show, Sheryl Lee Ralph. She's joining us. Where is she? There she is. And we want her here. We miss you, Sheryl Lee Ralph. We always love hearing from you. And this is an important conversation. So thank you for joining us. Happy Juneteenth. Sheryl, can you share with us why Juneteenth became a federal holiday, being significant?
Well, first of all, I do want to say that it was June 19th, 1865, that the general rode into Galveston. So it took him 2 years. So it started in the Freedom 1863. So just know that. Why is it important? Because we are finally, America is finally getting close to admitting that wrongs have been done against people of African descent, descendants of the Africans that were brought here to become enslaved as an important part of building the economy. In fact, they were an important part of the economy of America. It is important that we realize that a wrong has been done, and this is just one of the many wrongs that have been done. But it's also important to acknowledge the fight of generations before us. It is easy to believe that the freeway, the highway is there, and it was just there. But no, there was a small road before that highway, and maybe that small road was connected to a town, and that town was taken away from those people so that you could ride on this incredible freeway now.
Sheryl.
So Miss Opal Lee and her fight, it's important because Miss Opal Lee took up that fight in her 20s and has been fighting for 70 years. How many of us can say we fought for 70 years to see something through to the end? How many in the Tulsa, Oklahoma, willed themselves to live over 100 years to keep the struggle up, to keep the fight up? It may not look like much to some people, but I honor the generations before us, and I honor their strength in seeing us to this point. You might not think this holiday is important, but it is important. It was important 70 years ago when everybody told them, oh, please just stop that. It'll never happen. It is happening now.
Wow.
Sheryl Lee, I have to ask this on behalf of myself and the viewers, because I'm sure they're listening and taking all this in, and they would probably say, how do I celebrate this? How do I recognize this? Do I get a cake? Do I sit solemnly? Like, how do we celebrate this? Talk to us.
Well, I've got to tell you, in the South, especially in Texas, it has always been a time of great celebration. Just think about what it must have felt like to be an enslaved person and hear the news. You are free. Wow. You are able to live your life as you see fit. You might not know where you're going, what you're going to do, but you are now free. So I think it's a time to raise your voice in celebration, to thank God for those who came before us. Thank God for those who started to build the road. Thank God for those who carried on in the midst of great uncertainty. A lot of us have been in the midst of great uncertainty with COVID, when people lost their jobs, when people couldn't figure out how were they going to pay their mortgage. People lost their homes. Imagine what it must feel like when finally everybody's been smart and has gotten vaccinated, and we can create a new normal. It's a time of great celebration and relief.
You're right, Sheryl. We're going to go to break, but you're sticking around. You're going to stick around with us, correct? Okay, good.
We're not letting you leave.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, you're not allowed to leave us. Now, Al, we didn't get to hear directly from you. What does today mean to you?
Yeah, well, I was going to tell the panel and our beloved Sheryl Lee, like, I celebrated differently today. I put on the Jay-Z song with 2 Chainz called I Done Seen It All. And I really feel like that in my lifetime. We have seen, we've seen Dr. King's birthday become a holiday. We have seen Juneteenth become a holiday. We have seen our LGBTQ brothers and sisters be allowed to be married and be viewed as citizens. We discuss trans rights, Mrs. Ralph, on this show on a weekly basis. Things are changing. Yes. You can go to a drive-thru and get some weed. I mean, come on. The world is different. And we have to stop for a second and say all the things that we saw as impediments. They used marijuana to throw a bunch of black and brown folks in jail, and now that we're starting to see that go away, I have to stop, at least for this moment, at least for this afternoon. We got a lot of fight to do, but until noon, I'm going to have a donut and celebrate.
Oh, wow. Look at Sheryl Lee.
That's right.
Sheryl Lee, though, to Al's point, of course, a day for celebration, but what else needs to be done by Congress to recognize slavery and oppression of Black Americans, especially because you're so intertwined with politics as well?
Well, I tell you, thank you for that. The senator and I, politics has definitely become the other half of my life. But I tell you, there's so much that can be done. But before we start looking to Congress and the government to do these things, what can we do in our homes, with our families, in our communities, in our schools? It is important that we, all of the people, not just Black people, but everybody in America, understand what was done, the injustice that was done, and how it has led to some of the problems that we are having now.
Amen.
We want to end institutional racism. We want to see an end to police violence. We want to see deep changes. We want to have a real conversation around reparations. And all of this cannot happen until we acknowledge the pain, the hurt, the wrong that has been done to the people, Black people. Until you do that, we will not be valued. It's not important, and it's not respected. And it must be valued. The people must be valued. The people must be respected, and we must acknowledge the hurt.
Beautifully said. Wow. Beautifully said, Sheryl Lee Ralph. We appreciate you so much and being a part of our DBL
radiant
family.
in yellow.
She looks radiant, and what she just said is so powerful, because now all of our viewers can educate their children at home, can educate themselves. Without knowledge and education, you don't have empathy. So absolutely wonderful, powerful words. Thank you. We appreciate you. We hope to see you soon. Happy Juneteenth. And coming up on DBL, pop culture expert